Hello, I'm John, and this is Must Read More. Um, as you can see, if you've joined me before, we're in a new place. Uh, these are my bedroom shelves, and unlike the shelves I usually sit in front of, uh, which I haven't read any of those books, those are just my TBR shelves. I have actually read all these books behind me, or most of them. There are about 5 or 6 that I haven't, that I keep for kind of sentimental reasons. And I just kind of wanted to share my shelves with you. And I think that I'm going to embark on a shelf tour. That seems pretty normal here on BookTube for people to show their shelves, and these are mine. So there's another one right over there you can't see. It's not like these. It's not big. It's much smaller. I'm not exactly sure where we're going to start on this tour, but this is fiction. This is partially fiction, and then it goes into nonfiction, and these are not entirely nonfiction. So I guess we'll get started. All right. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start here and work our way this way. So the first book is Blindsight by Peter Watts. This is a strange book. It's a really good book. Earth receives I don't remember exactly how it happens that they find this, but they find out that there is a ship heading towards Earth, that it's been attracted by some kind of signal they've sent. It's heading towards Earth, so Earth picks these people to go on a trip to see, to intercept this spaceship and discover what's going on with it. And they send this crew. Each of them have something different. The main character has, if I remember right, he's only got part of his brain, so he sees things through only one. I think he's very logical, if I remember right. There's also a warrior, and it's been a while since I've read this. And one of the other crew members is a vampire, not like a Count Dracula vampire, but an ancient offshoot of humanity. And long ago, his kind preyed on other humans, and they were driven to extinction. I think he's been resurrected through science. I think he's been cloned or something. He's the captain of the ship. Sounds like a really strange setup, because it is. But it makes sense when you read the book. Watts is an actual, I think Watts is a biologist or a marine biologist. I can't remember exactly right. All these people fit together in a weird way, and they go out to find this spaceship, and they find some very interesting aliens. I don't want to say too much because it would really spoil it. I know that when I first read it, I had never thought about consciousness in the way that I think about this, or sentience. It introduced me to the concept of the philosophical zombie. The idea that there can be people walking around, talking, going through the motions, but that they have no conscious awareness of being alive. And that just tripped me out. So this is worth a read. Now the next one gets a lot of hate on BookTube, and it gets a lot of hate in general. I think because of the whole, I don't think it's so much because of the book, but because of the people who tend to read this book. This has been described as, dude bro literature. It's definitely different. It's hard to explain the plot because it is very long. Famously, it has over 100 footnotes, which of course were put into the back of the book because for some reason publishers won't put them at the foot where they belong because, oh, they break up the flow. I have a long dislike of the footnotes being put in the back. So some of the footnotes are very long. There's no real way I can explain the plot of this book to you in the scope of this video. It takes place between a rehab center, the patients at a rehab center, and then students at a tennis academy in, I think it's in Boston. So David Foster Wallace was definitely of the maximalist school of writing. He'll go on for 20 pages about something small. He gets into the minutiae of definitions and descriptions. There's something like 90 pages describing a fake game he made up called Eschaton. I read every last word of this book about 10 years ago, and I wouldn't let people scare you away from reading this. This is not a scary book. It may be overwritten, but there's nothing else really like this. Just a novel like any other. It's just written a little differently. It's more wordy. You know, Foster Wallace loved definitions. He loved to make up words. And I mean, it's just, there is a videotape which, if you watch it, causes you to want to do nothing else but watch it until you drop dead. And there is a Canadian terrorist group who's got a hold of this video and are trying to spread it. And it's about, you know, Americans' relationship to media, really just people's relationship to mass media in general. Foster Wallace was really interested in how people react to mass media and to television. Like I said, don't be afraid to read it, and don't listen to people who tell you that you can't read this because it makes you a dude bro or whatever. Read it yourself, determine what you think of it, and once you've read it or tried to read it, you can have an opinion of your own, okay? But don't let anybody scare you away from reading anything. Read whatever you want, okay? Just give it a shot if you're into it. If you're not, whatever, don't. Reading is about what you're interested in. And to be honest with you, as much as I can remember of this book, and the characters I can remember and everything, and even though I enjoyed it and I'm glad to have read it, I'll probably never read it again, honestly. I read about 10 or 20 pages of it about a year ago, and I just thought, no. But I mean, yeah, well, you decide. You make up your mind. The next one is To Serve Them All My Days by R.F. Delderfield. This is a great novel about a veteran of World War I. It's right towards the tail end of World War I. He's suffering from shell shock. He needs a quiet place to go. So he takes a teaching job at an English public school. And it's just about his career, the friends he makes, the kids he raises. It's a boarding school, you know, so he basically raises these kids from the time that they're very young until they're all, you know, adults, basically. And I mean, there's love, there's friendship, there's tragedy, and this is just a really good book. I mean, if you had picked this up in a store and handed it to me and said, read this is a good book, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But I read numerous reviews of this that all said it was really good and one of the best books people had read. So I gave it a shot, and they were right. And if you ever see this, because you can probably come buy this at a Goodwill or something for $1 or $2, just read it. That's all I really can say is just read it. You'll either like it or you won't, but I really did. So I'm not going to show all of these. I tried to show all of these in a video I made just a few minutes ago, and the video went to about half an hour, and then my phone said, storage is full, and it shut off, and it didn't save the video. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that again, but I will show some of the covers. And it's Patrick O'Brien's Aubrey Maturin series. Here is Master and Commander. I tried to read this one time on a flight to Germany when I was 16. I am horrendously terrified of flying. I don't like it at all. So I spent 8 hours in an airplane with my headphones on, with my hands on the seat, the armrest. I did not get up at all, there or back. I flew out of Atlanta into Stuttgart. And I didn't get much reading done, but I read it later, and the Aubrey Maturin series is just tremendously wonderful. I would recommend it to anybody. It's been called the Jane Austen of the sea, but it's really good. It's about Captain Jack Aubrey of the Royal Navy around the time of Napoleon and his friend Stephen Maturin. They meet in this book, and in the very beginning they don't get along. They don't like each other. They have a little bit of a confrontation I think they go to hear an orchestra or something, and they just, I don't know, they irritate each other, but they wind up being best friends. And all these books, there are 20, I think there are 20 books, 19 books. The last one is unfinished. I've read 15 of them, so that's Master and Commander. Stephen Maturin is one of my favorite characters in all of fiction. Here's The Fortune of War. Jack Aubrey's not bad either, but I don't know, Stephen Maturin's really, I just identify with him more, I guess. Here is The Far Side of the World. If you buy these, they all have one image on the spine, but I've got two different, I like these better the way they feel in your hand, but I like these better aesthetically. But, well, let's see. There's the one I read most recently, the Truelove, where they sail out of Australia with a stowaway who causes problems on board. And it was pretty good. I've had this book for 24 years or so. I bought it in 2000 when I was 8, I guess, somewhere in there, 2000, 2001. The complete illustrated short stories, Sherlock Holmes, complete with all the illustrations. Well, actually, not all the illustrations. There are most of the illustrations, and I actually didn't realize that not all the illustrations are in this until I bought a great big facsimile edition of Sherlock Holmes from the Strand magazine. So I carried this around with me all the time when I was in elementary school. I'm not going to open it because it's falling apart. It's gone a lot of places with me over the years, and I don't know, I really do. There's just a special place in my heart for this book. I love this book. This one has an inscription on the inside. It was bought in Covent Garden in London and sent here to someone, I don't know who really, before my time, before it came to me. I don't think it was very much. I think it was like $4 or $5. Probably not even that much, honestly. Some guy was selling them just out on the sidewalk, and this is the one I wanted. And it's kind of funny to say, but it changed my life in a way, or it greatly affected my life, the way that, I don't know, I saw the world or something. Just even when I was a little kid, when I bought this book, I really wasn't a big reader. I could read and everything, but mostly I was drawn to the illustrations, and so I grew up with an idea that London was a place of tweed suits and pipes and bowler hats and steam trains, and it was kind of disappointing when I got old enough to realize that London has moved on. So the next one is Spy Story by Len Deighton. This is really good. I don't remember the plot exactly. There is a man in British intelligence. He works and he runs war games all day long. War games between Britain and the Soviets on kind of a giant tabletop thing. It's kind of hard to explain. It was before, digital things and computers. Well, there were computers, but I mean they were huge and not at all like what we think of now. Mostly they just ran numbers. So all day long they would run numbers of these potential battles between, the Allies and the Soviets. And he gets mixed up in something. I can't remember exactly what happens. It's the same on both sides. I do remember it ends in the Arctic. And there's a submarine and helicopters, and there's a scene where he's taken off to a mansion and he has to escape with a double-barrel shotgun. In British spy novels and British thrillers in general, the ones that I've read from the 50s, 60s, 70s, sometimes they can be so subtle that I don't really understand what's going on. I wonder if the original reading audience would have understood what was going on, and that the world has just moved on from that mindset to a point where I no longer can really understand what people are. In British thrillers, a lot of times people tend to get offended very easily, and I'm just kind of left going, what just happened? So definitely different from American thrillers of this period, and they're certainly different of thrillers from the present. But I do like Len Deighton. I like his fiction better than his nonfiction so far. This is Great Ghost Stories. Upside down. Great Ghost Stories. My grandma bought me this at a grocery store about 20 years ago. And it has stories by Hawthorne, Sir Walter Scott, Edgar Allan Poe, Arthur Conan Doyle's The Captain of the Pole Star, which is a great story. Let's see. Thomas Hardy, Charles Dickens, Ambrose Bierce. I don't really go for Victorian ghost stories, these older ghost stories. They've really never been my particular cup of tea. I read them. I've read quite a lot of them. They don't really tend to do it for me. Some of them are really good. I really like The Furnished Room, for instance. Yeah. Or The Furnished Room, The Tapestried Chamber, The Oval Portrait. Those are all really good, but a lot of them just don't really work for me. So I used to have a dust jacket that was really nice, and I ripped it up, just being 12, 13, it just got destroyed. This one came without a dust jacket. I ordered this. This is Weird Tales, edited by Marvin, Kaye. This is a selection of stories from Weird Tales magazine. All the iterations of Weird Tales up to this time. I think there had been 3 of them. And some of the stories in this are really good. A lot of them are really bad. Let's see what's in here. Clark Ashton Smith's The Weird of Avusel Wuthaqwan. Let's see. Clark Ashton Smith, Theodore Sturgeon, Lovecraft, F. Marion Crawford, Richard Matheson, Arthur Machen. It's kind of an interesting thing because I guess Weird Tales reprinted some older stories that were not original to Weird Tales, and for some reason Marvin Kaye decided to put them in this book. Personally, I found his choices in this to be kind of strange and not all that good. I think that there is another volume of collected Weird Tales by Marvin Kaye, and maybe the better stories went into that one. There's one in this that I really do like, and it's about a lady who goes to Africa and she comes back with a seed of a plant, a very strange, specific kind of plant. And it describes back in the 20s, the 30s, they didn't have air conditioning or anything, so they had their windows open. And it takes place in just this hot, steamy, there are thunderstorms and it's humid, and it spoke to me. I don't know. It seems to me that maybe by moving to central heat and air, that in a way maybe we've lost something in the modern world. I know I'd be miserable and sweaty and sticky, but it did kind of evoke the sense that we are kind of disconnected from the environment. And maybe I'll make a video about that story. I've been thinking about making videos about short stories, because I feel like short fiction is kind of neglected on BookTube and kind of neglected in general. And even if nobody's interested in watching those videos, I'd really like to make them just for myself, because it would give me an excuse to go back and read these stories I've really enjoyed over the years. The next one is another Marvin Kaye book. It's Masterpeices of Terror and the Supernatural. There are quite a few good stories in this. Marvin Kaye definitely bent more towards the Tales from the Dark Side kind of universe, and so his stories aren't really violent or gory or anything. They're just kind of weird. Tales from the Dark Side is one of my favorite shows, actually, and there are just a lot of good ones. There's one about a guy who he goes to an island to study giant snails, and his boat washes away, and you might not think that snails the size of basketballs or garbage cans or Volkswagen Beetles are very scary. You would be wrong. It would be terrifying to be stuck on an island with snails, particularly carnivorous snails, such as in this story. It's called, let me see, The Quest for Blanc Claveringhi. The Quest for Blanc Claveringhi by, it's Patricia Highsmith. I didn't know that. Patricia Highsmith, who wrote the Matt Damon movie with Jude Law, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. What's the name? Ripley? The Talented Mr. Ripley? Yeah. So that's a really interesting story. Now we got 3 more, and then probably have to hurry this up, because we're getting close to where the camera cut off last time. These are 2 books by Andy Rooney. He used to do the little video there on, was it 60 Minutes, where he would talk about you can never find a button when you need a button, and then when you find the button, it's not the right button. And these are just, I'm not exactly sure if these are from the show or if he had a newspaper column. I don't know. But I enjoyed reading these. I don't know how much somebody else would enjoy reading these, and to be honest, I really only kept them because they look really nice on a shelf. I don't know if I'll ever read them again, but Rudy can be really nice to read in between other books. Sometimes when I read a really serious book, I just kind of like to read something like this, just a guy complaining that he can't ever find the other sock or whatever. And there is The Morro Castle. I read this earlier this year. It's a really good book. It's about the Morro Castle disaster, which you can see on there. That is the Morro Castle burning up. It was an ocean liner that went from, I believe, New York to Cuba. And on a return trip from Cuba, a fire started in a linen closet, and the whole ship burned up. A lot of people died. A lot of people jumped off the ship, drowned in the water. The captain and some of the crew abandoned ship and just left the passengers. There was a big trial. It was a really big deal. I think it was in the 30s. Yeah, September of 1934. And I might do a video about this in the future sometime, because this was a good book and it is an interesting story. But this is where we're going to have to wrap this up, because I don't want the phone to shut off again. So this is the first stage of my bookshelf tour, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And if any of these books are, if you'd like to hear me talk any more about these books, just let me know. Like I said, I have read all of these, and yeah, so just let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.